The night I drove through the middle of nowhere, I almost didn't make it back. Not because of the weather, not because of the road, because of what was waiting for me in the dark. This is a true story. It happened to me, and I will never drive alone at night again. Every November, I make the same drive home for Thanksgiving, 20 hours away. My parents live on a small ranch, in the kind of town that doesn't show up on most maps. I've done this drive before. I hate it every single time, not because of the distance, but because of the last stretch, the part where you leave the main highway and merge onto a single-lane road that cuts straight through nothing. No towns, no lights, no people, just open fields and vast, dark forest on both sides of you for miles and miles and miles. This particular November, I left later than I should have. By the time I hit that back road, it was already past 7 in the evening. The sky was completely black. My headlights were the only thing cutting through the fog. I told myself I would find somewhere to stop soon. A motel, a truck stop, anything. But the road just kept going. Empty, dark, silent. After 2 more hours of driving, I finally saw a light. A gas station. Old, isolated. The kind of place that looks like it hasn't been updated since 1987, but the pumps were on, and right then that was all I needed. I pulled in, topped off my tank, and went inside to ask the attendant if I could sleep in the parking lot for a few hours. There was one man behind the counter, maybe 50 years old. He looked startled when I walked in, like he hadn't seen a customer in a long time. I asked if I could park for a couple hours. He said the station was closing in 15 minutes, and he'd be leaving, but if I was comfortable staying at the empty place overnight, he didn't mind. I thanked him and bought a couple of energy drinks, walked back to my car, but as I sat there, I kept replaying what he said. If I was comfortable, not just comfortable sleeping in my car, comfortable staying here, at this specific place, in the middle of nowhere, alone, it sounded like a warning, like he was telling me something without actually telling me. I told myself I was overthinking it. I laid my seat back, set an alarm for 3 a.m., and closed my eyes. 15 minutes later, I heard him lock up and drive away, and just like that the lights went out. Pitch black, completely silent, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. I closed my eyes again. I don't know if I actually fell asleep, but at some point, I heard tires on gravel, slow, getting closer. I opened my eyes, and there right beside my car was a dark pickup truck. No headlights, no lights at all, just a black shape sitting in the dark, pointed directly at me. My heart started pounding. What were they doing here? This gas station was closed. There was nothing here. No reason for anyone to pull in at this hour, with their lights off, right next to my car. I didn't think. I put my seat up, turned the key, and drove out of there as fast as I could. I got barely a quarter mile down the road when I hit something large. Right in the middle of the road, I felt the bump under my tires. I heard the impact. I pulled over and looked in my mirror. I got out. The wind was cold and the road was completely dark. I walked back slowly, and what I saw stopped me cold. It was a large duffel bag, but not a regular duffel bag. It was large enough to hold a person, and it was shaped like one too. I stood there frozen, my mind racing, and then I heard it. Tires on gravel again, coming fast, no lights. I ran back to my car, got in, locked the door, and watched in my mirror as the truck appeared out of the darkness speeding toward me, swerving past the bag in the road, and slamming its brakes right behind me. Both doors flew open. 2 men jumped out. I floored it. I drove with my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the wheel. I tried to call 911. The call kept dropping. 1 bar of signal, then none, then 1 bar again. I kept driving. I kept trying, and I kept checking my mirror to make sure that truck wasn't behind me. Eventually the call went through. I told them everything. The gas station, the truck, the bag, the 2 men. The officer on the phone told me to keep driving, and to find the nearest lit area. I drove another 30 minutes before I found a 24-hour diner. I sat in the parking lot under the lights and waited. 2 officers eventually came. They took my statement. They went back to look. They found the bag. They never told me what was in it. I never asked, but I have thought about it every single November since that night, and I think about what would have happened if I had gotten out of that car to look more closely. Stay with me, because that was just the first time. The second time was worse. 2 years later, different state, different road, same kind of dark. I was driving cross country that summer, not for Thanksgiving this time, just to travel. I had a van. I had a mattress in the back. I had done my research on safe places to sleep. Rest stops were supposed to be fine, busy enough during the day, lit up at night, cameras sometimes. That's what I read. That's what I believed. I pulled off the highway sometime after midnight. The rest stop was tucked back from the road, deep enough that you couldn't see it from the highway, surrounded by dense forest on 3 sides. No other cars in the lot, no people, just me. I told myself the uneasy feeling was just nerves. First time sleeping in a van at a rest stop. Of course it feels weird. I went inside and used the restroom, came back out, pulled the curtain across the front of the cab, laid down, and despite everything, I was exhausted enough to fall asleep almost instantly. I don't know what time it was exactly when I woke up, but I heard voices. 2 men, just outside the van, close, very close, like they were standing right next to it. I checked my phone. 3:00 a.m. The parking lot had been completely empty when I arrived. There was no reason, no logical reason, for anyone to be parked right next to me. I sat completely still, listening. The voices were low, almost whispering. I couldn't make out the words, just the tone, and the tone made my skin crawl. I moved to the front, pulled the curtain back just enough to look out. The parking lot was still empty, not a single other car. Then I turned to look out the side window, and a man was standing right there, face at the glass, staring directly at me. I froze. He didn't move. He didn't look surprised. He just looked at me, like he had been waiting, like he knew I would look eventually. Then he stepped back and disappeared behind the van. I pulled the curtain closed. My whole body was shaking. I heard them whispering again. Then silence. Complete silence. I waited 5 minutes. 10. I pulled the curtain back slowly. They were gone. The parking lot was still empty. No car. No people. Just the forest, dark and thick on all 3 sides. They had gone back into the trees. That thought made everything worse. They weren't parked here. They had come from the woods, and now they were back in the woods, somewhere in the dark just beyond where I could see. I grabbed my keys, started the van, pulled out. I made it halfway up the ramp to the highway when the van started struggling, pulling hard to one side. A red light blinked on the dashboard. Back right tire. I already knew. Before I even looked in the mirror, I already knew. They had slashed it while I was sleeping, while I was listening to them talk. One of them had been keeping me distracted while the other one was under my van. I couldn't make it up the incline. The tire was too far gone. I sat there on the ramp, halfway between the rest stop and the highway, completely stuck. And then I heard a knock at my window. I turned. The same man, smiling, knocking, like he was being helpful, like this was all perfectly normal. He said, "Hey, need some help? Don't think you'll be getting out of here anytime soon with that wheel." His voice was calm, disturbingly calm, like he had done this before, like he knew exactly how this was supposed to go. I didn't say a word. I dialed 911. He knocked again. He said I didn't need to call anyone, that he would help me. I kept talking to the operator, and then he stopped being calm. He started hitting the window, trying the door handle, yanking it. I put the van in reverse, rolled back down the ramp. The tire was scraping and thumping against the pavement. The man chased me on foot, running alongside the van, still trying to get the door open. I got back to the flat surface of the parking lot, and I floored it. The van made it up the ramp the second time. Barely, but it made it. I drove on the destroyed tire for another mile, then pulled off and waited for the police. The men didn't follow onto the highway. The rest stop was isolated enough that they could have done whatever they were planning with no witnesses, no cameras, no one to hear anything. When the police arrived and searched the area, the men were gone, back into the forest, like they were never there. The officer told me I was lucky. He said that rest stop had seen incidents before. He said most people don't leave. I asked him what he meant by that. He just looked at me and said, "You made the right call. I have slept in my van many times since then, but never again at a rest stop. Never again near a forest. Never again somewhere I can't see every direction, because here's what I know now that I didn't know then. Evil doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't kick down your door. It doesn't chase you down the highway. It pulls up quietly beside you in the dark. It waits until you are alone. It waits until you are tired. It waits until you are just comfortable enough to stop paying attention. And then it knocks on your window and smiles and asks if you need help. If you are ever driving alone at night and something feels wrong, trust that feeling. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't tell yourself you're overthinking. The man at the gas station tried to warn me. I didn't listen close enough. Listen close. If this story kept you up tonight, leave a comment below. Tell me which part scared you the most. And if you are new here, subscribe, because the dark has many more stories to tell.